we've seen an explosive increase in violence against those serving in law enforcement. Tonight, we stand together as a community, publicly rejecting violence perpetrated against police officers. I want to begin by thanking the many state and local elected officials and community and faith leaders for their presence here tonight, including Sheriff Rob Hardwick, Sheriff Bill Leeper, State Attorney Melissa Nelson, FBI Special Agent in charge of the Jacksonville office, Sherry Onks, FDLE Special Agent in charge, Mike Williams, Mayor Lenny Curry, Mayor-elect Donna Deegan, and many others, as you can see. Together, we manifest our commitment to protect all citizens from violence, including our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. Fundamentally, police officers are public servants. Our lives are defined by our daily commitment to serve and protect all members of our community. One of my great joys as sheriff is addressing graduates at our police academy as they transition from recruits to sworn officers. When I do, I tell them that for every day moving forward, they're public servants. I charge them to approach each day with a servant's heart, even when those days are frustrating and heartbreaking. Policing in the lens of service first allows our officers to do the very important grassroots work of sowing the seeds of community trust. We cannot do the important work that we do successfully without the trust of the community that we serve. Trust is earned, and it is not a one-way street. Police officers are here to promote peace and provide for the safety and security of the public that we serve. Likewise, we are vigilant guardians charged with protecting the community from those who threaten harm. Every single day we manifest this charge, knowing that we may be bartering our very lives to fulfill our purpose. We accept that risk. We recognize the inherent dangers of work in law enforcement, and yet we choose each day to put our lives on the line to serve our community. Each officer raises his or her hand to serve this community, this great city that we have. And when an officer affixes the badge over his or her heart, it signifies a willingness to carry the weight of the responsibility to keep this community safe. But police officers are also human beings, a fact often forgotten in our public discourse. The police are not a nameless, faceless compilation of mindless combatants. We are people, people with families, people with hopes and with dreams and fears, people who want to do our work to the best of our ability, and people who, just like you, want to come home at the end of our shift, at the end of the night. We have the same range of emotions as every other human being. We laugh, we cry, and we mourn. But we are commonly bound together by the passion and purpose to serve and protect this community. We do not seek pity. We absolutely volunteer to do this work, and we are aware that we may have to give our lives in defense of others. Transparency has and will continue to be a primary focus of this administration. I've chosen to be a forward-facing public servant, not for my own promotion, but rather to give the public, with whom I have been charged to serve, a more complete understanding of the work this agency does and why. And I hope that in doing so, the public recognizes that it is the men and women of this agency who do the boots-on-the-ground work to promote public safety and security of this community. Because I wear this uniform, you see me as a sheriff, and I am. But there's also a man behind this uniform, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a son, and a citizen of this great city of Jacksonville, just like you. And while all these police officers who stand with me today wear the same JSO uniform, they have names and beliefs and identities that are uniquely their own. And just like you, they are members of this community who deserve to live and work without violence. In recent years, the violence perpetrated against police officers simply because they are police officers has exploded. According to FBI statistics, there has been an upsurge in violence against police officers in the past decade. In 2013, 27 officers died because of criminal acts in the line of duty. By 2018, that number grew to 57. In 2021, 73 officers were murdered. And last year, 61 officers died in the line of duty because of criminal acts. Recent local events have highlighted the national trend of increased, unprovoked violence against police officers. Since I took office in November of 2022, there has been 3 officers that have been shot in our community. one was brutally beaten, and one in October just before I took office. Consider other professions who work as public servants or in the public sector. What if we had seen a 170% increase in violence against them in a span of 8 years? Society would be outraged and demanding action. But for some reason, we're not seeing that outrage when the hate-filled violence is perpetrated against those who serve in law enforcement. One can only presume that this apathy towards the increased violence against police officers represents a belief that this violence is expected and deserved. Let me say to you, it is not. We stand together today to affirmatively reject this perverse notion. We reject violence, and we reject violence based on hate. We reject apathy surrounding the perpetration of violence against police officers or any member of our community. And I promise you that your police officers will continue to fulfill their oaths to serve and protect you. They will continue to run to dangers from which others flee. They will do this regardless of if you support them or not. But I ask you to see the people behind these uniforms, recognize their humanity, acknowledge their service, and join us in rejecting the hate-filled violence that they increasingly face as they strive to simply do their jobs. Let's protect those who protect us. Let's serve those who serve us. And together, let's build a stronger, safer, and more secure Jacksonville. Thank you for your time. And I'd like to introduce State Attorney Melissa Nelson.
Thank you, Sheriff. Consistent with the trend that Sheriff Waters has just discussed, in the last several years, our office has opened close to 1,000 cases against people who have resisted a police officer with violence. Over that same time period, we have opened more than 1,000 cases against people who have battered a police officer. And we have filed close to 20 cases against people who have attempted to kill a police officer. Michael Fox, Kevin Jarrell, Jeremy Mason, Bill Eierman, Joshua Moyers, Malik Derekod, Jennifer Johnson, and just last week, Michael Kinovich. These are the men and women who have suffered unprovoked and devastating violent assaults. In some cases, these officers were stabbed with knives. In other cases, they were ambushed, stomped, beaten. In others still, they were shot. And in all of these cases, each officer, just like these here today, were simply doing their job. So from conducting a routine traffic stop to providing cover to a fellow officer, life-threatening, in at least 2 of these cases, life-ending danger lurked in every situation. A few years ago, the FBI analyzed the motivation behind scores of police shootings, and the findings were frankly quite shocking. Hatred of police was the reason for almost 1/3 of those attacks. This anti-law enforcement sentiment has become worse in recent years as social media and popular culture have amplified these negative attitudes, creating and even at sometimes glorifying the notion that it is okay to physically oppose the police, and it is not. Look, I have little faith that this public denouncement today of this violence will make our brave peace officers safer. But educating the public about this alarming trend is important. So, Sheriff Waters, I commend you and all of my law enforcement partners and colleagues here today, and thank you, the media, for shining a light on this important issue. So now I'll turn over the podium to my friend, Special Agent in charge of FBI Jacksonville, Sherry Onks.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Sheriff Waters, for the opportunity to speak today about this important and disturbing topic. Over the past month, as part of National Police Week, I've attended services alongside several law enforcement leaders across the state to pay tribute and offer immense gratitude to men and women who've made the ultimate sacrifice, brave souls in law enforcement who have given their lives to protect others. And hearing each of their names and their individual stories was a powerful reminder that working in law enforcement is difficult and dangerous work. Law enforcement is unlike any other job, and as we know, it's not an easy profession. So there are careers like the military service, that may be equally stressful and exhausting physically and emotionally, but there are very few professions out there in which you knowingly risk your life for complete strangers every single day. Think about that. It's an incredibly special person to get up, leave the house every single day, and intentionally put themselves in harm's way for people they've probably never met before, and often during their greatest time of need. But unfortunately, we are faced with a sad reality that far too many of them are not returning home to their families. Officers aren't returning home to their families. That's an important point for society to understand. With each and every year that passes, we continue to lose brave men and women to often senseless, violent acts. Last year alone, as Sheriff Waters talked about, 118 officers were killed in the line of duty across America, 58 from injuries, but another 60 lives were taken as a result of murderous acts. Murder. Someone murdered them. That number is totally unacceptable in our society. When we lose a law enforcement officer, it's not just a loss in the law enforcement world. Communities lose a protector, a role model, a mentor, and families lose someone that meant the whole world to them. And often we have children growing up without fathers and mothers. We lose brave men and women who wanted to do good, something greater than themselves. So they took an oath to protect innocent people and make communities safer, no matter the dangers or how it affects their lives. Brave men and women make a choice to serve, and thankfully, thank God, they continue to make that choice, and their courage and dedication should not be overlooked. As a community, we must continue to recognize and support law enforcement all year long, not just during Police Week. And there's no better time to renew that support than right here, right now, by taking a stand against violent criminals who target law enforcement simply because they wear the badge. In closing, men and women in law enforcement choose this life because we care about people. We believe in the work. We run toward danger, sacrificing safety. Often long hours, most will agree, low pay, high stress, but they still show up each and every day to put bad guys away and give good folks a chance to live happy lives. And it's all in a day's work for the men and women of law enforcement, but it's life-changing for the people that they help every day. Life-changing. So let's remember that what we've lost, those brave souls, and be inspired by their sacrifice, and support those who are still serving in an incredibly dangerous environment like never before. On behalf of FBI Jacksonville, we are so very grateful that our local, state, and federal partners, what they do every day to protect this state and this country, and we are committed to standing alongside you every single day to do this important work. TK, Sheriff Waters, I appreciate you letting us be a part of this crucial message.
So I'd like to introduce my friend from St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Rob Hardwick.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Sheriff Waters, and thank you to other law enforcement leaders here on the stage with me today. But also, too, I got to commend you for leadership in St. Johns County, or in Duval County. Thank you for standing with us, behind us, alongside of us, and understanding the message that we're trying to put here to the citizens of Jacksonville and the surrounding counties, too, as well. I'll tell you this, as the men and women stand to my right, your left, they took an oath of office to protect and serve the citizens of the communities where they actually work at, where they live, work, play, and they raise their families. But I took an office, as did Sheriff Waters and Sheriff Leeper to my left, your right, to protect and serve the ones that protect and serve you. And I will hold my community accountable for their actions. See, I added body cameras in St. Johns County to not account for the actions of my deputy sheriffs, but to send the message, I will hold you accountable if you're a resident or you're a suspect or you're a person that's driving through St. Johns County, wants to commit a crime or make a false accusation against my law enforcement officers. When I took over sheriff 2.5 years ago, since then, there's been 389 assaults, battery against our police officers in St. Johns County. I will hold you accountable with our state attorney, R.J. Larissa, and the 7th Judicial Circuit. Not only will I hold you accountable, you will be prosecuted to the fullest, and we will set an example out of you and show the public of what you did and embarrass you like you've embarrassed our deputy sheriffs. You see, down in St. Johns County just last Friday night, Sergeant Deputy Michael Kunovich was legally out with a person that was at a permanently closed business in the area of 16 and 95. He checked out with him simply to say, hey, why are you on this property trespassing? That was a simple thing, simple task. As the body camera footage will come out and show you, it was by the book, textbook, legal aspect, doing his job to the best of his abilities and duties. And all the suspect had to do was comply. Instead, the suspect chose to try to remove a knife from its left-hand pocket of his pants, and the struggle was on with Sergeant Michael Kunovich until the next deputy sheriff showed up 37 seconds later. Ultimately, Sergeant Michael Kunovich succumbed basically to some medical issues that actually were induced by the struggle with our subject. When I took over as sheriff 2.5 years ago, Deputy Cameron Coward, was looking for a stolen vehicle in the parking lot of Publix parking lot at Ponte Vedra Beach when the subject exited the vehicle and fired 2 rounds from a shotgun at Deputy Cameron Coward. We're not going to tolerate it in law enforcement anymore. And we stand here today together, unified with our community. And I will tell you this, because a lot of you live, work, play, and raise your families and retire in St. Johns County. We are not going to tolerate crime in St. Johns County, but I'm not going to tolerate assault against the men and women that protect you when you lay your heads in bed at nighttime and you feel safe. Again, Sheriff T.K. Waters, my elected officials, my fellow law enforcement leaders behind us, we stand unified today to hold our communities accountable that want to commit crimes against our law enforcement officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Next, I'd like to invite Mayor Lenny Curry. Mayor?
Well, good afternoon, good evening, Sheriff, and to your predecessor, Mike, to Randy Reeves and Steve Zona. The last 8 years, I will treasure the last 8 years being able to stand with you and stand with the men and women that protect our community and our city. And to all of you, I'll treasure it as well. The 8 years I got with you, and I'll always stand with you, and I'll always have your back, even when I'm out of office. Occasionally, I tell my wife and kids that it's the rare profession when I get up and go to work in the morning, the worst thing I may face is an upset constituent, media chasing me, arguments and debate about policy. When these men and women leave for their shift, their families don't know what they're walking into. It's essential that we put an end to this unnecessary violence on our police officers. So we're here today to say no more, and that is why I have declared today, May 24th, 2023, End Violence Against Law Enforcement Day in Jacksonville, and encourage all citizens to honor the sacrifices of local law enforcement in our community. Sheriff.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And now I have the honor to introduce Mayor-elect Donna Deegan.
Thank you, Mayor. Can y'all see me over this?
They saw me, they can see you.
First of all, I just want to say that I want to thank Mayor Curry, who has been so helpful since Election Day in helping me create the transition that we need in this city. He and his staff could not have been more helpful. I want to thank the sheriff for inviting me over to the sheriff's office and spending a very generous amount of time with me yesterday. We had a very honest and transparent discussion, and I truly believe, and I believe it's important to say this because of the passions of the campaign. I said this to many of you as the campaign was unfolding, that I have always had and will always have tremendous respect for our police officers. They have the most dangerous job I can possibly imagine, and they deserve our respect, and they deserve to be protected. So I am happy to be here to add my voice to that chorus. As you know, and as I have also said many times, it is my absolute belief that we must do everything we can, and I know the sheriff believes this as well, to educate people, to make sure that we have the transparency, the accountability, the relationships that we need to make Jacksonville the safest city in the country. And I believe that he truly wants that, and I truly want that. So we will have a good working relationship toward that end. I value our wonderful police officers, and I value our beautiful community, and I believe together we can have the difficult conversations that we need to have to make our entire community safer. I'm so looking forward to that work, and I thank all of you so much for the dangerous job that you do. I look forward to being your mayor, and I look forward to having a continued great relationship with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor-elect Deegan. So with that, I want to say thank you to the media. Thank you for everyone that's come. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Let's try to keep those questions on topic. I'd appreciate it. But anything that I can answer?
Sheriff Waters, can you talk to Mayor-elect Leeper, you just spoke about? There was obviously a political season and how the last week has been as far as the sheriff working with the mayor.
It's been great. I mean, listen, politics are over. It's time to get to work. You know, I'm doing this city a disservice if I don't, this county a disservice if I don't work with our mayor. And looking forward to it. Looking forward to the opportunity to do some great things in this city moving forward.
Sheriff Waters, what ultimately prompted you to have a gathering with other sheriffs, with other members of the city here today?
I think it's important for people to really understand. I think you see it from a distance. You know, I think a lot of times we get criminalized. I think the men and women in law enforcement get criminalized, whether it's by the media or whether it's by groups. But I think it's very important for people to see that these are real lives, real people, and 3 officers getting shot within a span of 6 or 7 months, and one being beaten. It's just unacceptable behavior. And I think it was my job to, as Sheriff Hardwick so eloquently said, to protect those that protect us. So I want to stand up. I want people to understand how reprehensible it is, one, and two, we can't accept it. We have to move forward. We have to stop it. And we have to just be better citizens.
Sheriff, what can you do? What can you and all of these law enforcement people here do to try to make this better survivability?
This is it. So what I've been doing over the last several months, being very visible, being out front, talking about what's going on, being very transparent, letting people see what really goes on within the agency. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of urban legends and a lot of stuff put out there that's really not true. So the biggest thing for me to do is to show people exactly what goes on, invite people in to come see. I don't mind you seeing it all. I think it's important for you to see. I think it's important for people to understand this is not as easy as you think it is, right? We have officers out here that are doing things and putting their lives in jeopardy, and we all signed up for it. I'm never gonna say we didn't. We recognize the dangers that are involved. But you don't go in expecting someone to try to beat you to death. You don't go in expecting someone to take a shot at you. So my job is to raise awareness, to talk to our media, to talk to our community and say, let's cut it out and let's move forward so we can make Jacksonville the city that Jacksonville can be. And it's on its way to being. Yes.
You recently talked about wanting to increase more officers in your department. So more officers, you say, will help, but is there a game plan with what we plan to do with these officers?
Yeah, there's a huge game plan. So as a matter of fact, while I'm here, I'm going to put in a plug. Sorry, y'all. July 19th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center, we're going to have a town hall. We're going to invite anybody that wants to come see what that plan looks like. It's very well done, very well thought out. I had a chance to show it to Mayor-elect Deegan yesterday, and I think once people see it, they'll see how well we operate with being understaffed and undermanned. Now, imagine what we can do with the proper manpower to move us forward. It's going to be amazing. And I think when you see that, we can show you exactly where people need to go. And you'll be able to see it on July 19th. I don't want to spoil it too much. Yes, sir.
Is there a way, I know it's a national problem, it's not just in Jacksonville, but there seems to be an issue in training when police officers confront suspects or citizens. There seems to be an escalation in a situation where it's not needed, and sometimes it can cause harm to either the officer himself or the suspect. And I'm mentioning this because I lived abroad in another country, in China actually, and I've seen a couple of times where officers were in front of suspects, and I witnessed this in my eyes. I was expecting those officers to throw the guy on the ground, handcuff him, rough him up, but they used words. They were like social workers. They reasoned with them. They didn't beat them up, and they got handcuffed and put in the unit.
Well, see, this is what I'm talking. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. We are in a constant state of training in the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and most police officers. People talk about us not being educated, not being trained. We train all the time. But you can't train for other people's mindsets. That's the difference. We're very reactive in what we do, right? If you decide to go here, we have to go here. We can't stay the same. We have to get into a point where we can't retreat. We don't have an option to retreat. If someone calls me for a call for service, I don't have the option to say, nah, I don't want to go. I'm going to de-escalate this situation and just not go. We have to respond. And we have to respond. We have to find a solution. But it's not the police in every situation. That's why we have body cams. That's why we answer 1,000 calls or more a day. And you see very few incidences of violence by police, because that is an urban legend. The training is there, thousands of hours of it. Now we have to make sure that the citizens know that we are no longer allowing you to be in a situation where you can challenge everything that we do. So we've gotten into a point now, social media says challenge. No, it's not right. Don't challenge. Challenge it in court. Challenge it, huh?
That was my next question. Social media and the internet seems to have demonized the police forces around the country in a very negative way. You see it on YouTube, you see it in Facebook, and it makes the police look really bad when it's a very few instances where something has gone wrong.
And this is why I'm depending, well, let me answer that. This is why I'm depending on our local media. This is why I'm depending on word of mouth. This is why we use our social media platforms to show you exactly what happens in these incidents. This is why we do that. So now I depend on you guys to maybe not let that run wild and run mad. You have a chance to see. You have a chance to hear. And I'm showing you on YouTube. I'm showing you on Facebook Live. I'm showing you on Twitter so that you can see for yourself. Now it's up for our local media to help us spread that word and the people that we're talking to today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Go ahead.
In order to achieve what you want, to create a safer environment for police officers, what is the biggest thing you need from Mayor-elect Deegan? What is more police officers is something that's been discussed, but what is the one thing that you would like to work with her to achieve?
Ask that one more time.
In order to achieve a safer environment for officers, what is the one thing that you would like to work with Mayor-elect Deegan?
Well, we need to increase our technology and continue to move as technology moves. That helps us tremendously. She got a chance to look at some of it yesterday, but officers on the street, officers being able to fill in gaps, because right now we patrol 850 square miles of the city when many other cities don't have that responsibility. So we need to fill those gaps. And we can fill those gaps. I think we can. That's a big start for us moving forward.
And you guys talked about relationships, accountability, transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And the state attorney also said one of the motives for police brutality is the hatred. Is there a game plan on how we can help fix that? How are you guys going to build a relationship to establish trust for those who maybe feel like they've lost trust in you guys while you guys are still doing?
A lot of that is what we're doing now. Again, and I'll say it again. We talk about transparency. You've seen it. I know you've seen it. I know everyone's seen it. And I believe if we can show it to you legally, morally, and ethically, we're going to show it to you. And then I think I think every person that sees this stuff and hears it should go out and tell other people. And when you hear people talking about that we brutalize people, and I think you meant brutality against police officers. When squash those rumors. Don't be so quick to write a story about something that maybe have an explanation, or maybe you can call and say, hey, can you give me some idea what went on here? We can at least say, even if there's an internal investigation, we can at least say it's not as it appears. Give us an opportunity to work this. And then we ask people to say, listen, give us an opportunity to work it. Give us an opportunity to show you that we're going to be truthful. Give us an opportunity to show you that we're going to be transparent. Give us an opportunity to do what we say we're going to do, because we've been doing it and I'm going to continue to do it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.